We have another week of NFL action in the books, and it is crunch time. Most of you are entering your final week of regular season play before your fantasy playoffs start. And oh my, we have three major shakeups to rest of season outlooks for very significant players that could carry major implications in the fantasy playoffs. Two rookie running backs headed in opposite directions, and a young wide receiver perhaps ready to ascend to new heights. And to kick things off, we've got to go to a very dangerous place, and that's the Atlanta Falcons, where predictions about what is going to happen next week can often go very, very wrong, because we have got a head coach in Arthur Smith that can be one of the most unpredictable human beings on the planet.
I'm an agent of chaos.
Also, not the most rational coach when it comes to how he uses his players. However, with Bijan Robinson, over the last 3 games, we have a very strong trend in place, and it's not so much about the underlying utilization percentages as it is about a touch count that the Falcons seem to want to get their star rookie running back to each game. So if we head over to fantasylife.com and we check out the utilization suite of tools, which you guys can all do for free, just click on utilization. Then I've gone to game log view, and I've isolated down to the last 3 games, and I've toggled off of the percentages to give you the raw numbers for Bijan Robinson. And in week 10, he had 58% of the rushing attempts, but the bigger picture I want to isolate to here, he had 24 opportunities with 22 carries and 2 targets. Now, coming out of the bye in week 12, he took a step back if we just look at percentages, only 42% of the rushing attempts. But again, the overall opportunities were still there with 16 carries and 6 targets for a total of 22 looks. And then if we come to last week, he had a 53% rush share, but once again, the overall opportunities were there with 23 total, thanks to 18 carries and 5 targets. Now, anytime we have a player that has utilization percentages that are really bouncing around, yet we see their utilization raw numbers really staying the same, one of the first things I want to check are the team plays per game. And you can do that by going to team styles and the utilization report, and then you can click on the drop down for plays, and we can see that's not been the case for the Falcons over the last 3 games. They averaged 65.8 plays per game on the season, and over this 3-game stretch, they've ran 65, 62, and 65 plays. So we're not getting inflated numbers for Bijan based on an outlier game where maybe the team ran 75 plays. This is happening in the normal scope of their offense. So this volume increase is a really good sign for Bijan Robinson, because he's already been one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL in his rookie season. His average yards per carry, 4.8. That ranks 7th out of 39 backs with at least 100 carries. If we look at his explosive rush rate, those are carries of 10 plus yards or more. 15.1% of his carries go for 10 plus. That's 2nd out of 39 backs. And finally, missed tackles forced per attempt, 23.9%. And that ranks 4th out of 39 running backs. So I've compiled all of this data together, and I've looked at the last 12 seasons to come up with a comparison group for Bijan Robinson. The average fantasy points per game, 18.7. The average finish was running back 6. And the top comp in the group is a name you might remember. It was Dalvin Cook in 2019 when he scored 21.2 fantasy points per game. And the low end was Lesean McCoy in 2017 when he averaged 16.6 fantasy points per game. Needless to say, both of those marks are ahead of where Bijan is today. He's at 14.4 as the running back 16 on the season. I think that is about to change. I view him now, after this upgrade, as a mid-range running back 1. And this weekend, he's only $6,500 on DraftKings. The market hasn't quite caught up to this new role for Robinson and his potential to have a blow-up game very soon. And of course, over on DraftKings, you can do more than just play DFS, because football is more fun when you are in on the action. And this week, we have teamed up with DraftKings to do just that. Right now, new customers will get $150 in bonus bets instantly, when they place their first $5 bet. That's right, it's that simple. Just download the DraftKings app, sign up using the promo code DEBRIEF, DEBRIEF, and place your first $5 bet. The crown is yours. So while things are looking good for one rookie with Bijan Robinson, we've now got to turn our attention to Jahmyr Gibbs in Detroit, where we've now got a 7-game sample size of him playing with David Montgomery, and I do believe there is a new reality that we have got to embrace. In Week 13, we saw the lowest utilization marks for Gibbs that we have seen since Week 4. Now, part of this was due to the Lions jumping out to a big lead on the Saints, but those numbers, not what we wanted to see. 46% snap share, 27% of the design rushing attempts, and a 54% route participation. And while we can dismiss some of that with game script, the reality is the Lions are a good team, and they have the capability to build these sort of leads. So it was discouraging to see a 27% rush share, only 10 total opportunities in that game for Jahmyr Gibbs. And now in a bigger picture sample, 7 games with David Montgomery, he's averaging 9 attempts and 5.1 targets per game for a total of 14.1 opportunities per contest. Now, the good news on Gibbs is he doesn't always need a lot of touches to score major fantasy points. He's one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL, averaging 5.4 yards per carry. That ranks second out of 39 backs with at least 100 attempts, because 13.7% of his carries go for 10-plus yards. Very explosive playmaker. That ranks 6th out of 39 backs. And of course, he is a good target earner with a 22.5% targets per route run. The challenge is, even when we incorporate those things into his comp group along with the utilization, there are some troubling signs. The average finish for Jahmyr Gibbs' comp group was 13.6 fantasy points per game as the RB 18. And while that's not bad, we'll take it. That's an okay finish. We can use it. It's not where he's at today at 16.2 points per game as the running back 8. However, if we go a layer deeper and we isolate down just to the games with David Montgomery, where the two have been healthy, it's 13.6 fantasy points per game, exactly in line with the comp group. Now, I want to caveat all of this by sharing a little bit of hope for Gibbs, because the top comp in the group was Alvin Kamara in his rookie season, when he averaged 19.7 fantasy points per game. We've got a similarly explosive player on a really good offense with Gibbs in Detroit. So there's a chance he could get on a heater down the stretch and do something similar to what we saw from rookie season Kamara. However, when I look at the overall body of work across all of the comps, I did have to downgrade Jahmyr Gibbs. I look at him now as a mid-range running back 2 that can still offer RB1 spike week potential. So to finish things off here today, we are going to pivot to the wide receiver position, and we are going to get the positive vibes going again. I have got a major upgrade here for Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. And when we look at these high-end comps, the sky is absolutely the limit. For the season, Collins is averaging a healthy 7.7 targets per game, a 22% target share. However, that might be his floor moving forward for a couple of reasons. First of all, since we've seen him return from his calf injury in Week 11, he has had a 32% target share, averaging 10.7 targets per game. And secondly, we now unfortunately have rookie Tank Dell out for the season. On plays this year with Tank Dell on the field, Nico Collins has a 20% target share. With Tank Dell off of the field, that number explodes to 31%. So let's take a look at those comps for Nico Collins, and I've broken it down into 2 groups. The first one, no change, stays around his season averages. Tank Dell's out, doesn't matter. That comes out to a wide receiver 20 finish with 14.4 points per game. That's below where Collins is today. I think that's the floor. But the upside, if we do get an uptick in targets similar to what we've seen without Tank Dell on the field this season, that comes out to wide receiver 5 at 19.8 fantasy points per game. The closest comps in the model, Andre Johnson Brandon Marshall, Demaryius Thomas, very good company to be in. We've got some top 6 upside here, and that's why I have upgraded him to low-end wide receiver 1 status. Now, the price tag has gone up on DraftKings, $7,600 this week, but that could keep rostership down, plus the fact that he plays the Jets. We've got a tough matchup. So if you're looking for a way to get different on the slate and you believe in that Texans offense and Nico Collins, that is a stack that I will be going after with Stroud and Collins.